How frequently would it be acceptable to do a fat loss phase? I decided it was time for maintenance, but would like to do a second cut in the future. We'll be diving into this question and more.
In this episode, we will be kicking off our Q&A sessions. So we plan to add a second weekly episode. First one will be a topic. Second one will be a Q&A. So do you want to lead off with that one?
And just to note, we do have a little link in every show description that you can leave anonymous questions. So if you have a question you want us to answer, you can send that through there. We won't know that you sent it, but just feel free to ask away on any topics that you'd like us to talk about.
We also have a private Facebook community, which is getting priority for these questions, but we're going to circle to as many as we can.
Yep. So we're starting there. This one was from, I believe, Lori. She asked a few. This was one of them. So, how frequently should you be doing a fat loss phase? And my annoying answer is it really does depend. I think it depends on how long your initial fat loss phase ends up being. So if you're somebody who was doing like a 16-week fat loss phase and then you take like a month or two at maintenance, I'd probably want to see a little bit longer at maintenance than just 8 weeks. So I would say personally how I coach is I would like to see at least that equal amount of time at maintenance before progressing to another fat loss phase, unless it was shorter duration. So if you did something like a mini cut, or maybe your fat loss phase was like 8 weeks or so, then you can take some time at maintenance that's a little bit shorter before diving into another one.
Caloric threshold and biofeedback are also going to play a major role. So there are certain instances where I would worry less about how long the deficit has been and more about how aggressive that deficit was and how you felt throughout that deficit. So, let's say maybe it was an aggressive cut as far as what you were losing. Maybe it wasn't. But let's say calories were around 1900 for a female and you were dropping weight efficiently. So it wasn't, a quarter of a pound every week. It wasn't a pound and a half every week. So in that moderate range, you could probably circle back to that sooner or later, depending on what biofeedback looks like as far as that second part goes. Now, if you finished out your cut at 1,300 calories, you were there for 2 or 3 weeks, you started to plateau and biofeedback started to tank, you're going to want more time at maintenance. If you were doing a slow cut, so the point was to lose a quarter pound or a half pound per week, and you were really focusing on performance improvements while in that slight deficit, so we'll call this not a mini cut in the sense of it was short duration, but a mini cut in the sense of we focused more on a body recomposition phase, you could run with that for a long time. And, there's not really a limit on that until biofeedback tanks. You could stay in that slight deficit. If performance is improving and biofeedback looks good, there's no really red flag that says it's time to stop now. So you could ride that out until you achieved a specific result. Maybe you take a few weeks to a month at maintenance just to feel better about it. But that wouldn't necessarily be needed if those other boxes still look really good.
Yeah, biofeedback super important. And just kind of something I want to drive home here is that most people are not going to reach their end goal from one fat loss phase. Like I would say majority of people listening to this, you're not going to do one 8, 12, 16 week cut phase and be good and done and lose all your body fat in that time. It's likely going to take multiple. So know that there are various approaches we can take to fat loss. Know that it may be something you experiment in one cut versus another, but it's not just as cut and dry as, okay, you do fat loss for 8 weeks and you're at maintenance for 8 weeks and you can go again. There's a lot that kind of plays into it and it really does depend.
I'll also say, a lot of us tend to bounce back and forth between extremes. So you do a cut and you do a bulk, and you do a cut and you do a bulk, and you do a cut and you do a bulk. And for a lot of people, there's not a drastic improvement over time when you take those two combining factors. You're lean for a period and you're heavier than you want to be for a period. Myself personally, when I lost 50 pounds, went from 227 to 177, thinking I was going to cut to about 200 pounds, I just wasn't as lean as I wanted to be. So I got all the way down to 177. I was shredded. From that point, yeah, I was shredded, but I was way too small in my eyes. So I went to the next bulk and I just went back and forth and back and forth. And I spent most of my life doing that. That being said, if you don't have a significant amount of weight to lose, there is something to be said for the scenario I just played out. Put yourself either at maintenance or at a slight caloric deficit. Focus on kicking ass in the gym, controlling all of your lifestyle factors, and improve body composition over time. So you're essentially not in it is a fat loss phase, but it's not in a quote unquote cut. It's in a body recomposition phase. And if you can do that for the longer term, I'm talking a year, 2 years, and ride that out for life, first of all, it's more maintainable because you're not in this aggressive cut. And second of all, you have to worry less about that volleyball syndrome, back and forth, cut bulk, cut bulk, cut bulk. You just slowly get stronger and slowly get leaner over time. And if you're committed, this does take, it sounds, kind of backwards, but it does require you to be more on point because the line is so thin in regards to your body compositional improvements with your caloric threshold. It's not an aggressive cut. So you want to be very mindful of what you're consuming, very consistent with the amount of calories you're consuming, and just see that progress over time.
All right, next question is from Allie, who is also in our Facebook group. She said, nutrition for the fam. I know you guys have a kindergartner starting this year too. So how do we make healthy choices for the whole family?
I want to jump in first. Your child is a child. They do not decide what they're eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They are going to choose Lucky Charms. They are going to choose Goldfish, mac and cheese, Cheerios.
They also don't buy food at the store by themselves, I would assume, right?
Probably not. Your job is to guide them in this department. Now, this doesn't mean you're forcing salmon and broccoli and chicken and whatever down their throat. Choose some fun foods, but you could make, for example, some homemade nuggets. You buy some, quality chicken tenders. I don't mean chicken tenders. They sell like chicken breast sliced into tenders. Roll it in some breadcrumbs. Put some kind of seasoning on it. Maybe pick a low sugar barbecue sauce, something along those lines, right? Where it's a lot better than going out and buying the shitty frozen chicken nugget meat, or fill in the blank here as far as what are the more highly palatable foods. But I just want them to eat something. Eating something is better than eating nothing. They're going to eat something. They're going to eat those things that you want them to eat. They don't need the ice cream bars. They don't need the giant bowl of ice cream. You can make frozen fruit and have these fun things. You can melt some higher quality dark chocolate on top of the frozen fruit to really spice it up and put some peanuts. There are so many things you can do. Put a little bit of effort into it. This is a hot point, as you can tell, for myself, for us, because of the state of the world. And it's no longer just fat adults. It's now a bunch of fat kids who are growing up unhealthy. And that is on you. We've said this in a previous episode, but I consider that negligent parenting. If your child is obese, that is your fault. That is not their fault. It's because of the limited activity. It's because of the foods that you are giving them easy access to, allowing them to consume. Do your job. I say this with love and kindness because most people are in the same boat. Do your job. Be very mindful of what they're consuming, but understand you are the adult. And food is not a reward.
And honestly, our kids eat a lot of the same things that we eat. Cora's eating everything right now. She's just at the age.
Kai's trickier. Cora will eat whatever is on our plate.
I will give her salmon and broccoli and vegetables,
and she loves it.
She just eats it. So you can start this young. And Kai is definitely a little bit pickier with his foods as a four. He's 5 as a 5-year-old.
But we have the ones that he enjoys the most, and we'll rotate to those. We'll still encourage him to eat different things and try different fruits and different vegetables.
Let's give some examples just for like how we're going to pack his kindergarten lunch, I guess we can say, knowing peanut butter isn't allowed at school. So you can get creative with this. They make really awesome lunch boxes now that come with like little thermoses that you can fill with like Greek yogurt and granola and berries. So that's a snack that we know he eats every day, is he likes his yogurt with granola butter, and sometimes we'll put the crunchies on it, which is whatever granola we can find. I'd like to start making it.
We'll say lunch is going to be tough. Peanut butter sandwiches are his go-to.
They are his go-to, but he does love his granola butter. Like, he would prefer granola butter over peanut butter at this point. So that's always going to be an option. He does eat the beef sticks, the protein beef sticks as a snack.
These aren't Slim Jims. You're talking like a chomp stick, a higher quality, grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, more protein,
anything else,
lower fat.
I don't think any kind of nuts are available. Not that he eats nuts a lot.
He likes pistachios.
Pretzels. We get just various what are the little skinny mini ones we get? Pretzel Factory,
the
like
snacks,
mini.
The pretzel snack, I think it's called. Or
He
bites.
loves those. They're like honey mustard flavored.
RX bars.
But honestly, any kind of fruit. Like, our kids love fruit. They will eat fruit all day. So
we do stack
bananas.
for his meals. We do stack around a protein. So protein,
Yep.
and just our rules, I can't talk today. The rules we use for ourselves. Every meal is built around a protein portion and a
Yep.
plant portion. So same rules apply for our kids. What's the main protein? What are the portions for plants? Put those things together.
Yeah, so like if you look at our breakfast, I just posted a reel the other day. If you look at our breakfast that Josh and I eat, which is like eggs, toast, we'll either do fresh sourdough from the bakery down the road or Ezekiel bread.
The new
or
oat thing I've been doing.
The new bread we like is One Mighty Mill. You'll make a fancy oatmeal with different things that you add in. We all eat the same. Like I'll make the same exact thing for Kai and Cora. It's just smaller portions. So
And then Cora see, I can't talk. Cora circles back for second breakfast
she
to
comes
finish
eat
my
your
plate.
toast. Yeah.
I sit down and she comes back to the table.
So don't overcomplicate it. I think, if you're not serving them healthy choices right now, there probably is going to be a little bit of a pushback for a while until you can figure out how
There's going to
to
be a transition.
Sneak those things in. But, maybe this is something we start to share more as he goes to school. Like I'll start showing like his daily lunch every day. But
you can also make it fun. So if you've been on the easy diet for the kids, make it a fun event. You could start with a healthier pizza. Whether you guys want to go get your own dough and cook it from that point, or they have the breads that are like pizza doughs that are already cooked and you just bake it on top of that. But throw some chicken on there, throw some different veggies, you get your sauce.
Make a smoothie if they can bring like a water bottle with some kind of smoothie in it.
It's not going to be perfect. Just be mindful of your sources and understand like going from whatever's in the package of even the snacks and stuff to something you guys make together. Even if it's not perfect, it's going to be 10 times better than the shit they just put in that box.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to this cardio question. This is from Sunny, who's a longtime app member. She said, I would love to hear how to do 150 minutes of lower intensity cardio or the 75 minutes of more vigorous cardio. That's like the baseline. If you guys missed, I think the last episode we talked about that. That's just the baseline cardio recommendations for general health. She doesn't know how to incorporate that into a week of lifting. And this question comes up a lot because we have the running programs in the app right now. We've added more cardio-based stuff to the app. And I get the question of like, why wouldn't you just combine that into one program, which I'll let you touch on in a second with what you're going to say. But for me, the reason why I don't put that into like the build program or the other ones is because for most of you who are doing a lot of endurance work, it really is going to depend on your schedule, how much time you have available, as well as your recovery. So if you're starting to run a lot more and you've always previously just lifted, you're gonna feel that like you're gonna be extra sore for a long time. So for me to tell you like you have to run 3 days in a row, like for most people that's just not gonna fly. So I want you to listen to your body. I want you to implement it in a way that fits your life. So that's why I don't tell you exactly what to do. But for a lot of the days that like if you're lifting, I think Sunny does the build program, maybe move, so 3 to 4 days per week, you might have to double up and do like a strength and then add cardio to the end of that, or do 2 sessions in a day if you need to split it up. But for most of you, it is going to be something that you definitely have to make time for if you're not doing anything right now.
What I was going to say isn't what you think I was going to say. I'll say both though. I'm developing a freebie called the Cardio Bank, basically taking that total amount and just doing a quick calculation for you. So you put in what you did for that day. It'll recalculate what you have left if you were to disperse those across all the days remaining. So you just have an idea. So that's going to be a freebie that comes out soon. Don't even have to be in the app. That'll live on our website. What you thought I was going to say is we are going to have a new program that does break this down for you. So the program you've all been waiting for, I've been playing with this for a few months just to make sure I enjoy it and I'm responding well to it before we bring it out. But it's called Evolve. It will have more of, it's going to be built around the program, but for the training program, for those who want more aspects of everything that we're doing, it is going to include some of those things. So you will see the training program, you will see some cardio outlines, and there may or may not be some additional lifestyle aspects included within the program. If you guys like it, don't like it, we'll fine tune moving forward and maybe even include certain things in all the programs going forward. But this new program, Evolve, launching in September, will be including those things, and we'll kind of let it evolve, pun intended, from that point.
All right. This is from Kaylin. She said, as a soon-to-be first-time mom, I would love to know how you both learned how and what to do, especially in the first 6 months. I look up to you as a mom and hope to be like, and would love any and all advice. I feel
Survive. That is your goal for the first 6 months, is survive.
Yeah, but like as far as like books and like things like that, like I really didn't read any parenting books. I think I tried to, and they were just very like not in alignment with how we live. I would say with Kai, and I think we have said this from the beginning, we really just were kind of like winging it.
You also you can plug Samantha. That was a big piece.
Yeah. So for the sleep, I'm sure you guys have seen this. She's been on the podcast too. Samantha Day, sleep consulting, helped so much as far as getting Kai and Cora to sleep. We just did her courses. I worked with her a little bit more one-on-one with Kai because he was a little bit more difficult than Cora has been. But that has been the biggest gift. Like, I will preach that until the cows come home.
When they're sleeping, everything else is easier and your life is just better.
They're happier, you're happier, everybody's happier. So I would say
think that's a big part of, we talk about a lot of things in regards to raising our kids, but the reason they're pretty well mannered, they're happy, we don't have tantrums. Hopefully Cora keeps that up, knock on wood, is because they sleep well. I think it all starts with they sleep well and they eat well. It starts with that.
Yeah. I mean, they're in bed by 7:00 the latest.
Cora, Kai's 7:30ish.
Yep.
7:45.
Kai's getting a little later as he gets older. And they wake up around 7:00, and then they've been great nappers. It's just what has worked really well for our family and allows us to thrive. So I would say that's like the number one thing is to just, and it's not cry it out. You have to, Samantha really lets you implement a method that you feel comfortable with, and there are different options that you can choose from with her. So it's not like we're leaving our kids in the room to cry. Like that just, I don't think Cora did that once. Kai cried a little bit we had some habits we had to fix with him, but there are various routes you can take with that. And honestly, it just has been so valuable for our entire life to get sleep. You
want to talk about overall health. You want to talk about mood, behavior development.
That's
Those
everything
are two
that we
pillars,
talk about.
Sleep and nutrition. And it starts with our kids.
Yeah. And honestly, just everything else we talk about on the podcast, like making sure you're feeling optimally, making sure you have a good baseline of nutrition to teach them and to feed them well. And I know when they're babies, you're just like trying to survive, and they're not eating real food. But I think everything that we talk about, from mindset to movement to getting outside to, getting them fresh air, getting them in the sunlight when they wake up, like all these little things you can start from day one and it truly do impact them. So
Cora will be in the middle of this isn't a tantrum. She's a baby. If she's crying, she's inconsolable. We
frustrated.
go outside, we sit in the chair, on the rocking chair, we go for a walk, and she's golden. She's waving at the trees and the birds and the rabbits.
Yep.
They just want to be outside. So the things we talk about, yes, most of the time we're talking to an adult audience, but they're universal. And that's the philosophy behind what we do. It's, these aren't quick fixes. These aren't extreme methods. They're things that you're learning about and you teach your kids about. That is the concept behind our Be the Change slogan. We've got the shirts made up. You guys will be able to buy those soon. Be the change for yourself. Be the example for your family. That ripple effect is going to change the world.
Amen. All right, next question. You probably have this somewhere, but tracking macros seems very overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. This person also, we were talking a little bit more on Instagram yesterday. I think it was in one of my posts. And she commented and she said, I'm usually grabbing a slice of pizza, eating my kids' leftovers, a peanut butter and a banana sandwich, or even eating their frozen waffles for breakfast. I really want to eat more of that balanced meal, but it requires more thought, effort, and time. So I asked her, I followed up to this question, or not that it was a question, she just kind of was sharing what she's been struggling with. And I asked her, what would you tell your kids if they came up to you and they wanted to start a new hobby, and they said, Mom, I really want to do this, but it's taking so much time and effort and I'm frustrated and I just, what would you say to them? And I asked her, and I think that's a really good way to put things and to make you think about things, because oftentimes when we do something new, it is going to take a lot more effort. It is going to take a lot more time. It is going to feel really hard, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth doing. And I think a lot of you need to hear that today, is whatever part of your fitness journey you're trying to start on, whatever you're dealing with right now, as far as struggling with that, remind yourself that it's not always going to come easy. It's very rare that it's going to come easy, but over time it does get easier when you practice it and master the skill of, in this example, tracking macros or creating more balanced meals. It eventually gets to a point where it is mindless and it is taking less effort and it is taking less time. So I wanted to normalize that, but kind of do it in a way that helped her come to that realization herself.
It's also a situation where when you do make these changes, assuming you're doing them the right way when it comes to movement and training, nutrition, all of our pillars, it makes such a big difference in how you feel that you will never want to go back to the other way. Like, I don't track anymore. I'm at this point in time, I'm not tracking. But like, if we go away and I'm out of our routine as far as our normal foods and we're on the go more, so we're eating out a bit, I feel horrible. It won't even be like this crazy thing. It'll be the healthiest thing on the menu in most situations, but the way they make it, the things they put in there, my body feels like trash. And then not training for a week straight, my body will crave it by the end of the week. But mood, energy, the way I sleep, that's all immediately impacted within the day, if not a couple days of that type of regimen. So going from your frozen waffles and going from, whatever else, the pizza, probably not a great pizza, not a super great pizza, but not the best option. Going from those to things your body actually finds useful. And what I mean by that is nutrient dense foods that your body can put to good use and, optimize functions within your body makes a massive difference. And not just physiologically, not just longevity and health span, but right now, the way you feel with your mood, with your energy, the things the availability you have to others, the more you have to give to those people, it's an immediate impact. So committing to a week to sustainable changes and doing them the right way, that's something you never look back on.
Do the hard thing. It is always going to be worth it, even if it takes time right now. All right, let's move on to some of our other, actually, this was the last one, I think, from Facebook. She wrote, not necessarily a Q&A, but a where are they now episode from past clients. I think that's a great idea, but I actually did have like a concrete example here. Were they able to maintain their progress and their new habit/mindset? Coach Robin actually just sent me this over, I think last week, just a screenshot from one of her clients, and it said, "Hey Robin, I was just in the Outer Banks last week, and it reminded me of you, as the prior year we were working together, and it was my best year. No food binges, eating full whole meals, digestion on point, etc. I implemented those same protocols again this year, and it was amazing. More quality time with family, and food didn't ruin anything for me. So I'm so happy you taught me those habits, and obviously they were sustainable a whole year later." And I would say that's probably the common response that we get from past clients checking in. We've even had clients who have worked with us in the past who come back and kind of just want that accountability again. But when you're working on changing your habits, changing your mindset, it's going to be much more sustainable than just following a program or investing in a program and doing that for a short term. And then it's like, okay, I'm on to the next thing. When you actually take the time to do this the right way, it is sustainable.
And I will say, even the shorter term clients we have, so the minimum we recommend is 3 months, just because we can't learn anything about you in less than that time. But what we're focusing on and what creates the physical changes, the performance changes, is lifestyle and habits and general movement and re-ingratiating the concepts of nutrition and with and training. So it's the little shifts where even if you don't see a point A to point B total transformation, we are focusing on putting tools in your tool belt to establish sustainable changes that will lead to those things over time. So what we do, it's not like, hey, you need to be doing this thing. It's conversations. Hey, do you enjoy this? Can you fit this into your lifestyle? Will you do this beyond our time together? If the answer is no, we'll swap it out. We'll put something else in there so you can develop some consistency and accountability with us. Then when you're done, you take those things and you continue on for the rest of your life. But it's personalized. There's small shifts, and we make sure that the foundation for everything are those sustainable changes, that there's no reason you wouldn't continue it because it was developed with you and you feel great doing it. We measured it as far as biofeedback and the metrics we put on all those things.
Just going back to the last question, because we kind of didn't answer her actual question, just talking about macros and like where to start. It seems overwhelming. Where would you actually recommend someone start who thinks tracking macros is overwhelming? Like, what's the one thing this week that they focus on?
Well, we started with the other part, wasn't even the question, but the additional context was those are the things she's eating. So the first answer was shift it. Don't even worry about tracking until you make that shift.
Yep.
Then start if you need a week of just calories, just to see where that basket's falling and getting used to tracking, and then focus on calories and protein. Now, that being said, what most of you are going to be doing is scanning a barcode and entering it in some type of tracking app. So you're going to get all the information anyway. So when we say calories and protein, it's not like you're just writing this down manually in some archaic way. You have all the data anyway.
And even with,
but what you're focusing on is the caloric total and the protein total, and you're less worried about the numbers for carbs and fats because those can kind of fall where they are.
But Macros First, which is the app that we use and recommend now, they even have like crazy AI features. I haven't played with them yet.
AI features.
That's what I said.
AI, Captain.
AI. But what is it? Like, have you played with it? Do you remember what Haley said? Well, I think you can literally like just explain, like type a description of what you're eating or take a picture or something, and it literally does the work for you. So the tracking apps even are making this so much more efficient and take less time on your part, which is obviously something a lot of people struggle with. So, all right, let's do rapid fire these last few questions because Cora does have to wake up from her nap. Trying to build muscle, does every set need to be to failure or just the last set?
You need to be very close to failure every single set. So the general range is 1 to 4 reps short of failure to create muscle growth. Realistically, most people aren't anywhere near that. When it starts getting difficult, they decide they're close to failure. Failure means if the world depended on it, you could not do 1 more rep. That's what failure means. And factor in also with good form. So I recommend 1 rep short of failure. And a lot of times you're going to end up 2 or 3 or 4 short when you think you're 1, and then take that last set to failure.
What kind of qualities do you look for in SDE coaches?
All of them.
All of the qualities.
Got a vibe. You got to connect with us as a human. You have to parallel all of our values.
All of our core values have to be in alignment with what you believe.
Highly credentialed, interested in continuing to learn. Not in this for the money, in this to help people, be passionate about it.
And I would say at this point, if we were looking to hire someone, they would have to bring something to the table. Like all of our coaches kind of have their own little niche as far as like what their specialty is, quote unquote. They're all obviously certified in many of the same areas, but they all kind of have their unique specialty. So you have to bring something that adds to the table in that aspect. Is lifting 5 to 6 days per week and hitting each muscle group 2 times per week too much?
It's not too much. Well, it's very hard to answer that without additional context. Total volume, how many sets per body part per workout,
and
what that breakdown looks like.
As long as you're eating enough to support your activity level, also that matters.
Last couple episodes we talked about, you don't need to train 5 to 6 days per week. 4 is looking pretty optimal nowadays if you structure it the right way.
Cardio before or after weights for fat loss?
Either separated at least 2 hours if you're doing it before, or you do it after. You don't want to do cardio before training.
Why?
You're going to fatigue your body prior, and that's kind of like doing abs before the rest of your workout. Your core is fatigued, higher likelihood of injury. You're also you don't have as much to push through those sets as you would have prior to wasting that energy.
And keep in mind, fat loss, the majority of that is going to be coming from your diet. So this isn't like the magic key here as far as fat loss goes. You need to make sure your nutrition is where it needs to be too. Last one of the day. If muscle gain is the focus postpartum, what is recommended for cardio? Cardio, I feel like there's still such like a stigma. Like people think they can't do cardio if they want to build muscle. And that's just, we know that's not true. Like we need cardio for optimal health, our heart health. So I wouldn't go crazy on the cardio postpartum. You're probably not likely, you don't have the time to go crazy in the cardio early postpartum. And if you really do want to focus on muscle gain, strength will always come first. But you know, that going back to that general recommendation, those guidelines of 150 minutes of moderate intensity per week or 75 minutes of vigorous. And you can kind of...
For optimal, you're probably not leaning vigorous. You're probably keeping it steady state level 2, zone 2.
No. I say that both are important for sure.
For those looking to maximize muscle gain.
Yes.
For those who may be limited on time, have those kind
If
of
you're
structured
limited on
closer
time,
together.
don't you think it would make more sense to do the vigorous and do the short bursts?
I think it's going to be more taxing.
But assuming they're fueling optimally, then it shouldn't be.
So for newly postpartum, they have to be fueling optimally.
Which they should be anyway.
Getting quality sleep, quantity sleep, and spacing their timeout. So for this specific scenario, we might disagree. I would say because other factors are going to be limited, I would lean toward less vigorous zone 2.
I think it definitely depends.
Depends. In this specific scenario, though.
Yeah, I know. It depends on the person. It depends on what their schedule looks like.
So optimal scenario, they've got all the help in the world. They can do vigorous. They're sleeping better. They're fueling optimally. They have time to space those apart enough. For those who do have to compromise in other areas, would you tell them to lean toward lower intensity?
Maybe slightly lean that way. And I think the only reason I say that is because it can be easier to go do that with your baby strapped to you or with a stroller, get out for a walk and whatever. But it's definitely individual. And that's why, you guys understand, like, even at programs, all of our general stuff is for the masses. And if you're looking for a very specific protocol like this is a great example of why we do one-on-one coaching too, because there are a lot of factors that go into it that matter and that will dictate how fast or slow you progress.
So 3 different levels to working with us. They are all linked in the show notes. First level, simplest, easiest, the freest is our freebies. So we promote the top 5 challenge. We've got a macro calculator, but the top 5 challenge is basically you're starting fresh. You want to just establish some consistency. This is a momentum builder. So you follow these 5 simple tasks for the 30 days. You're also getting emails throughout this, which are going to give you additional tips and insights. It's basically a shadow coach in a sense, where you're getting some cool guidance through those emails. You're going to keep the accountability of checking those boxes every day. That's our top 5 challenge, but we have a whole bunch on that page, that freebies page on our site, again, linked in the show notes. Level 2 is the app. So it is a guided solution to your fitness. You're not working with a coach, but there are a bunch of different programs in there. We update those each month. There's some additional resources related to the rest of our pillars to give you ideas, to give you structures to work with. We even have like Metcons in there. We've got habit structures we call the apocalypse protocol. The concept of surviving on your own when the end of the world is coming, which feels like it's right around the corner. And level 3 is obviously the premium option. It is a concierge one-on-one health coaching service. This is not your cousin's health coach. This is someone who is building something from scratch for you personally, and anything that doesn't work, we swap out. Things that are working well and you enjoy, we build upon those things. So for those who want to shortcut the time you would be taking trial and error for the next 6 months, the next year, to figure out what kind of works for you, coaching is your premium service option. Again, all of those are linked in the show notes, but we're going to wrap it up here. Where can they find you?
I'm at Alessandra Skutnik.
I'm at Josh Skutnik.
Anything else you need is linked in the show notes.